I remember a real estate agent that was friends with my dad and mentioned, I've got a client that lives down the road that just built this studio in his house and it's really great. You should go over and check it out. I go over there and it was this beautiful place, and I immediately recognized the design as being Russ's. I would get the mix magazines all the time, so I would always see his ad in the magazines. And I remember him showing me around the studio with all this glass, and just you walk in and you're looking through the sound diffusers into the control room. It blew me away. Then when I started working in New York, one of the places that I went was Sony Music Studios.
Many years ago, we designed Sony Music in New York. Fred worked at Sony Music as an internship early in his career.
And then once again, walked into the rooms and recognized it immediately as Russ's work. And that's when I really got to actually work in those rooms, and I just fell in love with his designs. So worked in New York for about 3 years at multiple studios, and then eventually decided I wanted to move to Nashville. Originally, I was going to put a studio in the house.
When I met with Fred, when he was determined to put this studio in his house in Nashville, we talked through it. We actually came up with some concepts and ideas for it, and it was just proving to be more difficult and more expensive.
But I was starting to feel that maybe I'm going to be trapped in my home a bit with this. So it became very obvious that maybe we should do something from scratch. And we started over and started redesigning.
It was really a fun process. Fred is meticulous in his work. He had developed such a well-respected reputation in Nashville for his editing abilities, his sensitivity, his attention to detail, and really making sure product was right. He worked in music, worked in some film and television and other things. The studio is a big success in Nashville. It's still one of the nicest studios, I think, that's there.
I built the studio in 2003, was working on a lot of stuff, and as I got more and more into the post-production thing, I found myself coming out to LA more. I came out here for one specific project that I was out here for 3 weeks. I loved it out here. I was invigorated by the community and what was going on. In 2011, I decided, you know what? I'm going to move out here. I'm just going to come out for a little bit and see what happens. And never actually went back. So that's where I found that I needed another space to work in.
Fred was doing a lot of work in the stages out here in LA, and he needed a place of his own that translated to those stages.
COVID happens. I get married at the same time. Now I have a wonderful home life. I want to be home. Also, I can't go anywhere. It's COVID, so what do? I'm going to put a small room in the house. And I called Russ. What do you think? You interested? You want to do this? Maybe it's too small for you. And he goes, no. Get me the plans for the house. Let me see. Let's see what's going on. And when I saw the first renderings come back of his vision of what he wanted to do, it was amazing. It was awesome.
There are two things that are critical when you're putting a production facility inside of a residence. You have to have low background noise levels. You want to make sure that outside noises don't disturb what's going on inside. You want to make sure what's going on inside doesn't disturb your neighbors and the rest of the family that are in the house. The second thing that's critical is the room has to translate. You have to have confidence that whatever you produce in here will translate to the real world, to the production stages. And that means not just a single cockpit with a person, but where there are other people in the room and they can work collaboratively so that their judgments can be trusted to implement changes into the mix and what you're producing.
He understands where the challenges are, and he had ideas. I had other ideas. One of those were the windows in here. These windows, I wanted natural light. I wanted to see outside at times. How do we do that? How do we have a window right across from your mix position? And he came up with solutions. This was an important thing for me. He figured out how to make it work. I do a lot of things in this room. Every time I work in here, it's something different. Sometimes I'm just cutting in here. Sometimes I'm mixing in here. Sometimes I'm just supervising a project in here, all sorts of things in here. So the room needed to be versatile, to be able to accommodate all these different aspects of what I do. And the most important thing is that I wanted a room where I could really hear what I was doing. Being able to hear detail is the most important thing for me. My best work is done when I can hear the detail. I don't want to be doing work that I feel that I need to redo or be embarrassed to put that work up. I want to make sure that I'm delivering to the stage the best possible work that I can. And that happens in an appropriate space like this.
We've always believed a good-looking room always sounds a little better. The aesthetics of the room are critical, particularly when it's a small space, because you're close to all the surfaces in the room. The finishes can't pollute the color rendering on the screen. Not that Fred's using this room to do color correction, but he has very critical people in here who are looking at their product, and the visual image is every bit as important as the audio. So the finishes are basically neutral, so that there aren't any strong primary colors in here, or even pastels. They're neutrals. Around the front of the room, there's a scalloped area up there that's carved out that's dark, so the screen pops. We have a backlit NAB gray back wall, color-corrected surround around the screen to reduce eye strain. We spent easily as much time on that as we did all the acoustics. Every element was important to get right in here. Something Fred and I talked about early on, we've always been a big believer about hiding all the speakers. If you see a speaker, you go, oh, I know what that sounds like. You're filtering all these things in your brain instead of just enjoy what you're seeing and hearing, and how does it make you feel?
None of this is afterthought. Everything is intentional here and was all designed on the front end. At the heart of the room, got the S6, which is controlling all 3 Pro Tools systems in this room. I've got 3 Pro Tools systems, all with 192 inputs, 192 outputs, all being interfaced through 3 matrices in the machine room. One system is typically dedicated to dialogue and music, the other one to effects, and the other one is stem recorder that's taking all the stems from all the other systems and combining them together, and then feeding it to the Atmos renderer so I can produce Atmos content in here. There were a lot of people involved in getting this room put together. Russ, Dolby, equipment manufacturers, everybody communicated to make sure that everything was integrated from the beginning. Directors and producers love being in this space. They love coming in here and being able to hear their material for the first time in a nice environment. The feel of a room makes a big difference. When clients come in here, they feel comfortable. The decision to have this in my house was really because my family's here. And that's what's ultimately important to me, is to be able to be with my family. This affords me the ability to do that.